just sent us. By the way, there's a secondary piece to the Warriors drafting Quinten Post. Our Warrior insider, Anthony Slater, The Athletic, had stated this now hard caps the Warriors in the second apron. So we asked, okay, talk to dummies. What does that mean?
Right.
And specifically, what does it mean with regard to Klay Thompson and Paul George or anyone else for that matter? What kind of flexibility? Slater said, quote, it caps their total team salary at $189.5 million.
Can't go over it.
That is a hard cap. So they cannot go over it, not even by $1. And he says that certainly limits what they can offer George/Klay in combination. So you can read this one of two ways. I don't know that it lessens the likelihood of a Paul George trade, but if you do see a Paul George trade, which, by the way, could happen as soon as the next 48 hours, if you do see that, it probably almost certainly means that Klay Thompson plays for a different team next year.
Right, and it almost certainly, I think, would involve a Chris Paul sign-and trade because you can't make a trade until you're below the second apron. You can't take on additional money unless you're below that. And I guess come July 1st, you would be below that based on Klay Thompson not being on the books anymore. But I think if you're going to bring on that money, and right now you're at $174 million for next year with all the contracts, and that includes Chris Paul. So if you take out Chris Paul's 30, you're at 144, and if you have to stay under 189, that only leaves you 45 for Paul George. And if Paul George right now is making 48 and he wants to get a max, then I don't know how the Paul George would fit underneath that unless you shed additional salary.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would do. That's exactly what you would do.
Just running the math right there. And I think this becomes more of an Andrew Wiggins thing now.
Sure.
And
aggressively shopping.
Right.
Aggressively shopping.
So if you could shed Paul and Wiggins and a pick or two picks, because, future schmoocher, as we talked about yesterday, if it's Wiggins, the Chris Paul contract, and a couple of first-round picks for Paul George, that would keep you under the second apron, and you would have a little bit of a thinner team, but they have added two players since we left the show yesterday.
Yes, yes, they have.
They have.
They've added two new players. That's an accurate statement. I wonder if this is how a lot of people are translating it. So tomorrow is the deadline for Chris Paul. You either waive him or you pick up the $30 million option.
Or you can partially guarantee it, I think, as well.
I don't know. I thought it was already a guaranteed 5, and you got to either guarantee the 30 or waive him, I think is what it is. But, there's little quirks here and there. I'm going to read this way. If tomorrow we find out that Chris Paul has had his option picked up for $30 million, then I think a Paul George acquisition becomes the leader in the clubhouse. If you see the Warriors waive Chris Paul tomorrow, then a reunion for Klay Thompson becomes at least more plausible.
Yeah.
I still don't know what Klay wants to do, but that's kind of my initial read on where we are with this latest development combined with what we're expecting tomorrow's development to be.
Yeah, and I also think that if Chris Paul's contract is not guaranteed, I think that takes you from big game hunting to medium game hunting. So you go from getting a 5-point buck in the deer world to maybe now you're hunting for squirrels or you're looking for a possum, because if you lose the Chris Paul 30, I still think that Klay Thompson's going to be back burner, but you won't have the ability financially to go out and bring somebody in for 50. Maybe you go out and find somebody in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, who's making 26. Maybe you could go and bring in somebody who's more in that neighborhood, somebody who's making more in the $30 to $35 million neighborhood, somebody like DeJounte Murray, somebody who is, more in the mid to upper tier.
Sure.
Not the top tier. Maybe tier 2 is where you end up shopping.
I do think that there is absolutely the possibility that the big acquisition that the Warriors might be going for is someone we're not talking about at all. Again, I do take pause at the idea that this is so public. That feels like posturing to me. That feels like someone's trying to get someone else to do something in the negotiating world. We'll ask Ramona Shelburne that. She joins us in a little bit over an hour. The Giants have lost in extra innings today to the Cubs by a final of 5-3. Grandy's favorite pitcher, Luke Jackson, coughed that up in the 10th inning. And FP is going to join us in about 18 minutes to talk all of that out. But at least the Giants took 3 of 4.
Yeah.
And some just rollover team is coming in this weekend.
Yeah, some bums.
Oh, the Dodgers.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but there's no Mookie Betts. So
fine, but they got Teoscar Hernandez hitting ninth if he's lucky enough to be in the lineup.
Shohei, did I see that he's driven in a run 9 straight games?
Did you see him hit a home run and miss first base?
Yes, because he thought
like you've homered before.
No, because he thought he flew out. He homered and he hit it off the end of the bat. And it still went out. Anyway, let's go to the phones. John in Berkeley. Hi, John. You're on with, stop it.
Totally.
You're on with Willard and Dibs. Hi, John.
Hey guys. Happy second round NBA draft day, whatever that means.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Well put.
Well, I just want to offer though a counter opinion. I think it's great what LeBron has done. I mean, everybody always talks about it's a business, and we forget that it's also entertainment. And people are, there's lots of compelling stories. I think LeBron figuring out a way to get his son to play with him. There's a positive aspect to that. I think that the criticism of the Lakers and the criticism of LeBron isn't really fair. I just think it's a great story. I think that if the shoe was on Curry's foot, for example, which it won't be because he's older and his kids are too young, I think there'd be a different angle. And mind you, I'm a lifetime Warrior fan. I'm a big NBA fan. I've always rooted against the Lakers and the Celtics, for that matter, mostly because of their fan bases. I don't really hate the players, but I just think it's a great story. And considering his heart trouble, et cetera, I think it could be a kind of a cool thing to follow, and I just wanted to offer that as an alternative view. That's all.
John, can you stay on for a second? I want to ask you a couple questions. Do you have any kids?
Happy. I have 3 kids.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second as a dad. One of the things and I laugh because of all the things we've already said about the Lakers being run by somebody else, but one of the other things that at least gives me concern about the LeBron and Bronny situation is that as a dad of an athlete, and my son is no massive college or pro prospect, but he's a pretty damn good golfer who does have eyes on playing at the next level. And one thing I would never, ever do to him is make such a thing about it, talk about it so much that the pressure around his abilities got ramped up to a level that he couldn't meet. That, to me, I don't live in this man's house, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but I'm concerned that, to me, LeBron made this much more about himself than his son. Meaning, I want to play with my son kind of came in first place, and in second place came in what's best for Bronny and what is he able to handle? Because let's be real, this dude's not ready to be a Laker. Come on.
Well, let me say, first of all, it's kind of funny because my son is actually golfing today. He's home from college.
Very nice.
But that's just a coincidence. But and he was a pretty good high school athlete. But I happened to go to the Cal USC basketball game last year. And I have a friend whose nephew plays for USC, and so I kind of sat with the USC parents, and I went because she had invited me, and I forgot all about the LeBron thing, and I got there, and I was like, wow, why is Haas Pavilion sold out with this team? Actually, Matson's kind of doing a decent job. Anyway, I sat with the USC parents, which is behind the USC bench, and, of course, LeBron was there. And, to his credit, he sat there. He watched the game. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't posing for pictures. He was there to support his kid. And I just think it's the criticism is a little bit one sided, considering that it's not about I don't think he's overhyping his kid. His kid was a prospect before he had the heart thing. He definitely had a rough freshman year of college, but he could still turn into a player. A lot of guys develop late, and
sure he could.
You guys were bad-mouthing second-round pick, not bad-mouthing, but you're talking about how meaningless second-round picks are anyway.
Well, that was my partner. I don't
those
agree
are
with
facts.
that. I don't agree with the fact that second-round picks don't mean a thing.
Go ahead and look through your Wikipedia.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John, for the phone call. And go ahead and look back at the history of second-round drafts, and it's hilarious because there are names and consonants and countries and players who never even sniffed a minute in the association. And it's just the history of the NBA in the second round. The majority of second round picks are flyers anyway. So if you want to take a flyer on your superstar's kid, then take a flyer. And if it doesn't work out, Bronny will get a handful of games and he'll get out of the G League. And although I saw that the reports from Rich Paul were that he's not going to sign a two-way contract. So he's going to get kind of a Trace Jackson Davis guaranteed contract.
Of course he is.
And because, why would you?
Because you're right. Why
You're LeBron's kid.
Yeah.
You're not going to be disrespected like that.
I don't even know why the Lakers showed up today. Why'd they even show up? They're all sitting around a table clapping and congratulating each other. They took a non-NBA prospect that nobody else was looking at, as if that was some accomplishment. Hey, guys, we did it. You did what? You picked someone that no one else was trying to pick.
They like the player, and they like the pick.
And I'm still surprised at your take. I'm not like, I understand the data. But the NBA is littered with second-round picks that mean something.
Well, it's not littered.
It is.
There's a smattering of second-round picks.
Jalen Brunson is a second-rounder. Draymond Green's a second-rounder. Nikola Jokic is a second-rounder. Trace Jackson Davis. We could go through history, and I could give you Manu Ginobili's and Marc Gasol's and Gilbert Arenas. It happens.
6 players over a 28-year period.
I'm not going to sit here and read it like it's a dictionary.
No, I get it.
It happens. Why not try?
No, you try, and if you're sitting there at 55 and you have an opportunity to maybe bring in a project, and I'm having a hard time selling it, and you know that. You know when I'm full of Schmidt, and this might be one of those moments. Shout out Casey back in Sacramento. But if you're sitting at 55, why not take a flyer on your superstar's kid? It's great marketing. And you know what? When he plays his first game as a Lakers, it's going to be a huge thing. And LeBron, they're probably going to do a father-son powder toss. It's going to be a special moment. I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it.
Great. And so the Lakers have officially become a side reality show.
It's Showtime, Mark. It's a show. It's entertainment. It's what you always talk about.
Showtime won championships. It wasn't a sideshow. It was a show.
You're saying this is sideshow time?
This is a sideshow.
Sideshow time?
Sideshow time.
Yeah.
I would like to thank the Golden State Warriors today for conducting themselves with professionalism.
Yeah, because...
and conducting themselves on a day of basketball with basketball in mind. Not storylines, not familia, not gathering around so that we can become a cool footnote in history. Thank you, Golden State Warriors. I don't know if Quinten Post will ever play in the NBA, but thank you for trying. Thank you for trying to be a basketball team today, as opposed to somebody who is just desperate, pathetically desperate for attention. That's all I'd like to say about that.
I wouldn't say that they're pathetically desperate.
Pathetically desperate for attention.
It was telegraphed. And if you want to run down the Warriors' history of second-round picks, we can play the game. We can do the dance.
They got 2 on the roster right now who play. And
Tyrese Martin. Guy Santos is a second-round pick. Brother, I like the pick.
2 of their 5 starters at the end of the year were second-round picks. 40% of their starting lineup.
And I'm going to hit you with semantics, and you hate it.
Why?
They didn't draft Trace Jackson Davis. They bought the pick.
Stop it.
See, you hate that, but it's a fact.
But it's business.
And I heard that yesterday from Giddings and Grandy.
But it doesn't matter because it's business that's conducted in the second round. And that's what I'm talking about today. I don't care what
Nico
you do.
Mannion, Justinian Jessup.
Yeah, most of them are going to miss.
Miye Oni. Eric Paschal.
Now you're just making noises.
Eric Paschal was mentioned yesterday off the air.
Who, by the way, for a minute people were excited about him.
Ojnin Kuzmic, Charles Jenkins.
Stop making noises.
Onion Dibs.
Yeah. Whatever.
Put some respect on his name.
You're right.
I love grilled onion. I put that on my burgers. Let's
Monte
go.
Ellis, second rounder.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eat your words. Let's go to Eric in Hayward.
Stefan Lasme.
Hello, Eric. What are you doing?
Hey, what's up? I'm just driving home from my commute. Crazy traffic.
Yeah, what else is new?
Sorry to hear, buddy.
I got crushed yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
nobody
I
cares.
think all this stuff that's happening with the NBA, nothing's new. There's always been favoritism. There's always been ways to make your superstars happy. I mean, look at the Bucks. They just signed Giannis' brother Thanasis just to make sure that he stays, that he has a higher stake. But what the Lakers have done is like an entirely different ball game. It's just the fact that Rich Paul was calling the previous team's picks or teams of picks that were previous to the Lakers and just saying, hey, if you draft Bronny James, he's not going to play for you. He's going to go to Australia. That's like a whole different type of like bullying, and this is something that LeBron's been doing in his entire career, always getting his coaches fired. And thankfully, Miami's like a great organization and has a spine with Eric Spoelstra and not firing him, thanks to Pat Riley. But it's just, you can't do that in a professional league. It's disrespectful for the other players that have like put in so many hours and should have gone above Bronny and could have gave the Lakers something that they needed next year. But, this is a weird trading piece, or I don't even know what to call it, that the Lakers done just to keep LeBron happy with. I don't know. Like you said, I don't think he would have left. Where would he have gone? There's nowhere else that LeBron could have gone.
I'm with you, Eric. I can believe it, but I can't believe it. We saw it coming. I thought it was going to happen, but it's one of those things that until it's actually reality,
right,
the belly laughter didn't actually happen until it became reality. And I'm just, thank you, Eric. I'm sorry. It strikes me as ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's pretty funny.
And I'd like to thank...
But he's not wrong about the Thanasis Antetokounmpo comp because
right, but
he's not an NBA player.
That's also ridiculous.
Right. But we do this. We do this in sports where you do somebody a solid and you bring in somebody's buddy and somebody's caddy to make them happy.
You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this.
No, but many teams do this in order to make certain players happy.
I'd like to thank the texter from the 650 that gave me this idea, but let's go ahead and announce it. Next week, I will be on vacation. I'm going to see family, and it has just been announced by Odyssey that Dibs will be co-hosting with his son Quest for
Quest
the entire week. Now, Quest is not technically qualified to do this.
Yeah.
He has been on air before, but he has not been really performing at the level you'd like him to perform in sports media circles. He's been going to Taylor Swift shows and things like that, but he has not really had the sports media resume that you want. But doesn't matter because Odyssey loves Dibs. And Odyssey wants to keep Dibs happy.
It's important.
Whatever makes Dibs happy, that makes Odyssey happy. So, listeners, congratulations. Next week, you get Dibs and Dibs.
Yeah.
And that's going to be wonderful, wonderful radio to listen to.
Especially when you get Questy's takes. And I'm only going to disparage him because I know he's not listening. But when he was a kid, the big joke around the house was his favorite baseball player, LeBron James. So get ready for some hot takes.
It's going to be some amazing
when
radio.
he was like 10 or 11.
Can you imagine? That's what the Lakers just did. That's what the Lakers just did.
That's not.
Yes, it is.
No, because they're not expecting him to come in and ride shotgun. They're expecting him to
what are they doing
wear
then?
a uniform and pat dad on the back when he comes to the bench.
I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. All right. We're